We've worked for years on citizen science in fisheries, where we definitely recognize the role of individual fisher out on the water is a whole data ecosystem on his own. And part of the goal of PescaData is to try and capture the value in that. And our goal of creating a sort of an interconnected network of 300,000 fishers in Mexico. PescaData was created as a mobile app here in Mexico in 2017, 2018 with a very specific purpose. It was originally created by the organization where I work. We're a nonprofit called COBI, or Comunidad y Biodiversidad. And we created the app to help collect better data in fisheries that were trying to get eco certifications. So their Marine Stewardship Council are working in fishery improvement projects where better data needed to be collected than is required by the Mexican government for when the fishers catch their fish. So additional information needed to be collected, so we developed the app to be an electronic logbook where fishers could download the app to their smartphone and collect information as they caught their catch. And that was the initial start of PescaData. 2019, 2020, we started sort of a big strategic planning project around how we can use technology to scale our work. So now our goal is to use PescaData as a sort of the leading wedge of including more technology in small scale fisheries in Mexico and Latin America. Mexico, for example, in terms of market, Mexico alone has about 300,000 small scale fishermen and women, more than 1 million across Latin America, and we think we can provide PescaData as a tool for software as a service to help fishers collect better data. And the goal of collecting better data is to be able to make more and better decisions at the local level for fishers to manage their fisheries. The tool has been set up to provide software as a service where individual fishers can share information with their fishing organizations. Fishing cooperatives are very common around Mexico, grouping maybe anywhere between 5 and a couple of hundred fishers into fishing organizations, and they can use this PescaData as a tool to digitalize their catch log processes between the fisher and the cooperative, to share information, to get basic analytics and things on what people are catching and where and how much. So one thing we have noted and so between our challenges and our opportunities for growth is the sector is not very digital. Although smartphone penetration is high across the fishery sector in general in Mexico, in Latin America, we do have potential for fishers to use this. But at the same time, most processes are administrative processes inside these fishing organizations tends not to be too digitalized at the moment. So we see our opportunity for PescaData to provide this basic service to fishing organizations. Mexico, as a permit holder, you are required to provide basic data to the government as part of your obligations, but it's quite simple data. That process of providing the data to the government is being digitalized slowly, but previously you had to deliver a paper copy of what you caught to a fishery office in a certain part of Mexico, and that might be like 100, 200 kilometers from your community if they don't have an office in your community. So as you can imagine, there's a huge amount of under-reporting to the government. So that affects how much information is available for making science-based decisions for managing the fisheries from a government point of view, but also at the community level, where we're more focused, is how can communities use this information to make better decisions over time to adaptively manage their fish and their stocks. And alluding to your question, traditional technology in fisheries, particularly with fishery logbook apps, tends to have been quite extractive in terms of the data, because they've been established to collect data on the fisheries and not necessarily providing much service to the humans, to the fishers. So they've been established by managers or by NGOs or by researchers with a very specific purpose of collecting data on something, and that data is valuable to the person who's developed the app and collected the data. What we're trying to achieve here with providing software as a service to the fishing organizations themselves so they can make decisions on their level. So PescaData has a goal of trying to to be able to create more of an interoperable fishery data system, but at the same time ensuring that data sovereignty is respected at all points. So with PescaData, fishers can decide with who they share their data. Are they sharing it just with their fishing cooperatives, or do they want to share beyond? But the idea is that each sort of sovereign user can decide how and with whom they're going to share that data. It's available in the app stores for download, and you can already enter the app and find your fishing cooperative and join it. Our ideal goal is that the onboarding process doesn't involve us. We would like to get people to get involved and use it as straight away. At the moment, we as a sort of admins of the system need to activate the fishing cooperatives and do a very small amount of due diligence to make sure that people are in the right cooperatives and things like that. Our goal is to make this as streamlined as possible so that users can get on board. If I'm an individual fisher, I can just download the app and start using it, recording my catches. If I want that information to be synchronized with my fishing cooperative, I just need to make sure they can get in touch with us through different ways and get in their fishing cooperative activated online. The fishing cooperative itself needs to assign a person or persons as administrators of the fishing cooperatives, where they can now see all the catch coming in from their fishing cooperative and get the analytics and the data analysis. There's also a more social side to PescaData. We have a marketplace where more focused on creating like local economies, so where fishers can sell an outboard motor or buy new fishing gear. This is our sort of focus on communities. Anybody can enter into the application and use that. Also create discussions and sort of a forum style. We've worked for years on citizen science in fisheries, where we definitely recognize the role of individual fisher out on the water is a whole data ecosystem on his own, and part of the goal of PescaData is to try and capture the value in that. And our goal of creating a sort of an interconnected network of 300,000 fishers in Mexico. They're very good at solving and adapting to situations, whether it be environmental or political or economic. They can adapt very quickly because they have to, right? One thing we're promoting with PescaData is this knowledge sharing mechanism. So we have a solutions exchange in PescaData inside the app, where fishers can post how they're solving problems. The fisher to fisher exchange, where we work with, where we travel with a group of fishers from one community to another, is such a powerful tool because fishers learn directly from their peers. So we're trying to digitize that peer-to-peer knowledge exchange where fishers can share what's worked. We're still building that out on creating more functionalities there on exactly how you can replicate these ideas. But at the moment, it's on an ideas or knowledge exchange marketplace. And further down the line, particularly on the sort of the data that is being collected or could be collected on the water, we don't have all this built into PescaData yet, but it's definitely on the roadmap of how we can capture how change is occurring in communities, whether species distributions are changing because of warmer water, and that kind of information. And this is one of the big questions we're working on, is how do we compensate the users who are working on or are contributing more to this network. So we're looking at how can we include like micro payments for data that's contributing to these bigger questions, or how do we incentivize users to not only share their ideas but know that their ideas are helping someone else. I think these are the bigger questions that we're still working on including in this ecosystem. The way we position PescaData has been very different in different situations because each fishing community has different needs. I think one example of both using the PescaData and also sort of our adaptive approach to try and meet the needs of the fishery sector was with an octopus fishery in the Gulf of Mexico, where we're working on a fishery improvement project, which is looking to get an eco certification. And there was questions around what types of bait were being used in the fishery and whether some of those baits species were protected species. So that was sort of a requirement for the sector. So we made some modifications to the software so that fishers could add in bait species. No data had ever been collected sort of on a broad scale of what bait is being used in the fishery. And I think from August through December last year, about 1,500 tons of octopus was collected in the app with all its corresponding bait. And that was a way to get sort of on the ground information at scale of what bait is being used in the fishery to catch octopus, and also just a broad sort of implication of using PescaData with different groups. So that was really interesting. We learned a lot from that process. In some sites where the fishing cooperatives are really well organized, they're already exporting sort of high value lobster to Asian markets. They don't really have such a need for this software as a service because they have strong institutional processes like they're already very well organized. But they are really interested in these ideas of sharing solutions, sharing ideas to common problems. And they're also more aware of sort of how climate change is affecting their fisheries. So they're definitely interested in looking to how they can use the tool to manage that. Whereas in other parts of Mexico, where technology penetration is a lot lower, and a lot of fishers are usually still reporting their catches on paper, then the use case for PescaData is very different. It's more of a simple software that they can use to bring up their reporting processes to better standards. So it really varies, but there's some different examples of how we used it. Yeah, this is one we've thought about a lot. So where do we use PescaData, and how can it contribute to better compliance? Because PescaData is a self-reporting tool. We had an example of fishers from the north of Mexico who wanted to use PescaData to almost prove to the government that they are fishers. They didn't have permits, but they needed to sort of prove that they've been catching over a long time. We've been helping a group of fishers who at present don't have permits, but they've been fishing for years and decades. So with them, they can use PescaData as a tool to go to the government and help them justify the need for them getting permits. And this can be an issue because getting permits is not always as simple as just applying for a permit. Unfortunately, bureaucracy and other processes often complicate this. So having PescaData as a long-term catch log can help them go to the government and justify the need for a permit. It's much easier to be illegal as a fisher than legal. It's quite hard there's a lot of requirements to be a legal fisher, and a lot of fishers are very proud of being legal fishers. So if we can help them down that road to become legal, to legalize their catch, and then contribute their catches to these national databases so that everybody can make better data-driven decisions, I think that's an important step. So right now, as I mentioned right at the start, we're a non-profit organization. So we're actually moving to create a startup company under Mexican law because we can do and can't do. We're creating this company to host the technology, and that'll give us more opportunities for financing and scaling. Again, we're also interested in operating across Latin America. PescaData is a Spanish language tool and can be used across the region. So that'll give us more financial and structural opportunities for scaling. We're also developing a governance structure which has a very big element of community participation. So the actual model of the company under the sort of the legislation allows stakeholders to be part of the organization, and we imagine in a future where fishers can have a voice and a vote inside PescaData. So we would like particularly the sustainable fishers who are using the technology and are applying their best practices in the water can be part of this decision-making structure of the PescaData technology company. But having this startup with a structured governance system where users can be part of the decision-making process is an important step for us.